Elias Harper died on a Tuesday in early October, the kind of day when the light turns thin and golden and everything looks like it's already a memory. He was 78, and the cause was listed as complications from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which was the polite way of saying he had coughed himself to death after 53 years of breathing sawdust and paint fumes so his children would never have to. The funeral was small. His daughter, Mara, flew in from Seattle. His son, Jonah, drove up from Richmond with his wife and 2 small daughters who kept asking why Grandpa was sleeping in a box. The church smelled of lemon polish and wilted lilies. The minister, who had never met Elias, spoke of a life of quiet service. Mara stared at the closed casket and wondered if the man inside it had ever truly been quiet about anything that mattered. After the burial, the family gathered at the house on Willow Lane, the one Elias had been finishing for 41 years. It began as a modest 3-bedroom ranch in 1983, the year Mara was born. By the time Jonah arrived 4 years later, Elias had already torn down the back wall to add a family room that never quite got drywall. Over the decades, the house grew like a coral reef made of half-realized dreams. A turret here, a wraparound porch there, a skylight that leaked only when it didn't rain. Every new room was funded by another postponed vacation, another overtime shift, another college fund quietly rerouted into 2x4s. Mara walked through it now like an archaeologist. The kitchen still had the same avocado green stove from 1989 because Elias insisted appliances don't wear out if you treat them right. The living room ceiling soared 22 feet to accommodate a library loft that held exactly 7 books and a lifetime of dust. In the unfinished master suite, Elias and their mother, Ruth, had slept in the basement for 30 years so the kids could have the proper bedrooms. Mara found a yellow legal pad on the nightstand. On it, in her father's cramped engineer's handwriting, was a single repeating line. "When the house is done, we'll finally live in it." Ruth had died 9 years earlier. The house was still not done. Jonah found Mara sitting on the subfloor of what was supposed to be a sunroom, knees drawn to her chest. "He left us the place," Jonah said, voice flat. "Equal shares. We have to decide what to do with it."
With what money? With what time? You have toddlers. I have a startup that's bleeding me dry. Dad spent his entire life finishing this house. Jonah, he never started living in it, and now he's gone. Jonah looked wounded, the way he always did when someone pointed out the obvious about their father. He had inherited Elias's need to fix things. That night, they slept in their childhood bedrooms, walls intact, the only finished part of the upstairs, and Mara dreamed of sawdust falling like snow. The next morning, the contractor arrived. Tom Brewer, 50-something, sunburned, with the deliberate calm of a man who had seen too many adult children discover their parents' houses were worth less than the dirt beneath them. "Structurally," Tom said, tapping a beam that sagged like a tired spine, "she's a miracle. Your dad knew what he was doing. Cosmetically," he gestured at the maze of exposed studs, dangling wiring, and plywood floors, "it's going to be cheaper to tear it down than bring it to code." Jonah flinched. Mara felt something inside her chest crack open, the way ice does when warm water finds the flaw. "How much to finish it?" she heard herself ask. Tom scratched numbers on the back of an envelope. When he slid it across the sawhorse that served as a kitchen table, Mara felt the air leave the room. $680,000, more than the house would ever be worth, more than either of them had. Jonah started talking about loans, about second mortgages, about honoring Dad's vision. Mara tuned him out. She was staring at the envelope, at the tidy row of zeros, and thinking about the summer she was 16 and wanted to go to France with her language class. Elias had sat her down at this very table, back when it was covered in formica, not sawdust, and explained that the turret needed a new roof before winter, or the whole second floor would rot. The trip was $8,000. The roof was $12,000. Simple math, he said. She had nodded, mature beyond her years, and spent the summer painting houses with him instead. She still remembered the smell of latex primer and the way he hummed old Johnny Cash songs off-key. She had hated him for exactly 30 seconds. Then she had loved him harder because that was the deal they made without ever saying it aloud. Now Jonah was saying the same thing. Simple math. We owe him this. Mara stood up so fast, the sawhorse rocked. No, she said. We don't.
She walked out the back door, the one that opened onto a deck cantilevered over nothing because the ground dropped away 20 feet to the creek, and kept walking until she reached the old workshop. The place smelled of linseed oil and regret. On the workbench lay the last project Elias had been working on, a walnut jewelry box no bigger than a hardcover book, its lid carved with dogwood blossoms. It was perfect, finished, the only thing in 41 years he had ever completed for its own sake. Inside lay a single object, a brass key on a red ribbon. Mara's hands shook as she closed the lid. She knew without being told that the key opened something important. She also knew her father had never shown it to anyone. That afternoon, she found the locket fit, a rust-flecked metal box bolted beneath the workbench. Inside were 3 things. First, a ledger, page after page of meticulous entries in Elias's hand. 1987, postponed Disney trip, $4,200 to new furnace. 1994, Mara's braces, paid in full by skipping Hawaii. 1999, Jonah's summer camp, redirected to foundation repair. 2003, Ruth's cruise for 25th anniversary, canceled for septic field. 2011, retirement savings to new roof, the third one. Every sacrifice itemized like line items on a balance sheet. At the bottom of the last page he had written in red ink, total owed to family, everything. Total collected, not enough. Second was a stack of letters addressed to Mara and Jonah, one for each birthday they had celebrated while he was too busy to take a day off. 30 for her, 26 for Jonah. They were short, never more than a page, but brutal in their honesty. Mara's 21st began, I should be in New York with you right now, watching you graduate. Instead, I'm framing the dormer so you'll have a place to come home to. I tell myself this is love. Some nights I'm not sure what to call it. Jonah's 18th. Your mother wanted to hire a band for your party. I told her the money was better spent on soundproofing your bedroom so you could practice guitar without disturbing the neighbors. You never played guitar again. I think about that every time I walk past the room that still isn't painted. The third item was a cassette tape labeled in Ruth's handwriting, for when you're ready to be angry. Mara carried everything back to the house. Jonah was on the phone with a bank, voice rising in the particular desperation of a man trying to borrow his childhood back. She set the metal box on the sawhorse. She said, "Sit down." He sat. They read the ledger together. They read the letters. When Jonah started crying, silent, shoulder-shaking sobs, Mara didn't comfort him. She was too busy being furious on behalf of the girl who never went to France. Finally, she put the tape into the ancient boombox that still lived under the kitchen cabinets. Ruth's voice filled the room, tinny but unmistakable. If you're listening to this, your father is gone and you've found his lists. Good. Be angry. He deserves it. But when you're done, remember this. Every nail he drove instead of taking a vacation, every overtime shift he worked instead of watching your games, he thought he was building you a future. He was wrong about the method, but he was right about the reason. The tragedy isn't that he never finished the house. The tragedy is that he never believed you were already home. A long pause, the sound of wind chimes. I made him promise me one thing before I died, that he would finish one beautiful thing just because it gave him joy. That jewelry box was it. If you're holding the key, you know he kept his promise. Now it's your turn. Burn the damn house down if you have to, or live in it. or sell it and never look back. But whatever you do, finish something that makes you happy. Not for us, for you. We're already proud. We were proud the day you were born. Everything else was interest on a loan you never asked to take out." The tape blinked off. Jonah wiped his face with the sleeve of his hoodie. "I can't tear it down," he whispered. "It's all I have left of him." "It's all he had left of himself," Mara said. "And it killed him." They sat in silence until the light outside turned violet. That night, Mara walked through every half-built room with a different kind of seeing. She noticed the care and the joinery, the way Elias had hand-cut every dovetail, even when power tools would have been faster. She noticed the places where the wood was worn smooth by decades of his hand resting there while he thought. She noticed that the house, for all its absurdity, had perfect bones. On the top floor, really just a platform open to the sky, she found something she had never seen before, a small door set into the knee wall. The brass key fit. Behind it was a room no bigger than a closet, finished, painted the soft blue of a robin's egg. A single window looked out over the creek. On the floor sat a rocking chair and a tiny table. On the table was a note in Elias's handwriting, dated the week before he died. "Mara girl, this is the first room I ever built for no reason at all, except it made me happy to imagine you sitting here when you're old and I'm gone. I was going to show it to you on your 50th birthday. I didn't make it. I was wrong about almost everything, but I was right about you. You were enough exactly as you were. The house was never the point. Love, Dad." Mara sat in the rocking chair and cried the way you only cry when someone gives you permission to stop carrying something you didn't know weighed 1,000 pounds. 3 months later, the house sold to a couple who made documentaries about eccentric architecture. They paid more than it was worth because they fell in love with the story. Jonah used his share to pay off his mortgage and start a college fund his daughters might actually use for college. Mara paid off her company's debts, and for the first time in 10 years, took a month off. She spent 3 of those weeks in France.
On the last day, she sat at a cafe in Paris and opened the walnut jewelry box she now carried everywhere. Inside, along with the brass key, she had placed 2 new items, a plain ticket stub and a photograph of the little blue room, taken the day the new owners let her come say goodbye. She was 41 years old, the same age her father had been when he started building the house that ate his life. She closed a box, slipped it into her pocket, and ordered another café crème. For the first time, she was not in a hurry. Somewhere, she thought, Elias Harper was finally sitting on a finished porch, drinking coffee that wasn't instant, listening to wind chimes he didn't have to fix. And for the first time, she believed he was proud.